Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. The Trump administration has started immigration enforcement operation in Massachusetts. Immigration crackdown, you may call it. But let's go back a little bit before we talk about immigration enforcement operation. We have to talk about the Boston Trust Act. Okay, so this is something that exists in Massachusetts. It's called the Boston Trust Act. It was originally enacted in the year 2014 and then amended in 2019. The Boston Trust Act basically prohibits local police from working with ICE on civil immigration enforcement efforts. It prohibits local law enforcement from sharing information with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So if there's an ICE detainer request, the local law enforcement will not carry out the request because of the Boston Trust Act. Now, what's a detainer request? For those who don't know, let me just explain that to you. Let's say that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, let's say that ICE knows that a person who is in custody of local law enforcement is eligible for deportation. And then ICE sends a detainer request to the local police, asking the police to hold the person in custody for an additional period of time so that federal agents can go and get that individual and take that person into federal custody. Under the Boston Trust Act, local law enforcement will not honor that detainer request. They will not cooperate with the federal agents. So this Boston Trust Act cannot be associated with the word trust. The American voters elect people, we the voters, all over the country, we elect people and we put people in positions of power so that they can serve the public. In Massachusetts, the voters elect people so that those elected officials can then serve the public. Elected officials should think about the best interest of the American people. But the Boston Trust Act does just the opposite. It violates public trust by protecting illegal immigrants. So the Boston Trust Act cannot really be called the Boston Trust Act. A more appropriate name would be the Breach of Trust Act. You can call it the Breach of Trust Act. I think that's a more appropriate name for this law, okay, for this act that they have. Because by implementing this law, the left-wing politicians have engaged in breach of trust. And that's why I think the name should be the Breach of Trust Act. This is a breach of trust. If an elected official is protecting illegal immigrants, that's breach of trust. And the Trump administration has filed lawsuit against Boston specifically for this reason. The city protects illegal immigrants from federal authorities. And that is why President Donald J. Trump and his administration are taking action. Let's talk about the mayor of Boston, Mayor Michelle Wu. You may have heard the name, right? You've definitely heard the name before. Michelle Wu is a sanctuary city mayor. She's the mayor of Boston, Massachusetts. Mayor Wu is a left-wing politician. Now, some of you may be saying, Tausif, you use that term a lot. Left-wing politician. Yeah, I do use that term quite a bit. whenever I'm doing live streams, whenever I'm recording podcast episodes, I talk about left-wing politicians because there are so many of them. A lot of left-wing politicians in the United States of America. All you have to do is look at the Democrat Party. Look at the Democrat Party and tell me how many left-wing politicians can you find? Many. Many socialists in the Democrat Party. Okay, let me talk about this one person, okay? Who's that high-profile U.S. senator representing Massachusetts? There are 2 U.S. senators from every state. And I'm talking about one of 2 from Massachusetts. Do you know who I'm talking about? Elizabeth Warren. That's right, Elizabeth Warren, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's a left-wing politician. That's an example. And who's the governor of Massachusetts? Governor Maura Healey. She's a left-wing politician. But we're not here to talk about Elizabeth Warren. Also, I'm not going to talk about Maura Healey. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss if we want to talk about Maura Healey's policies and priorities. Okay, I can give you a long list of reasons why she is she's not the right person for the job. She's not, you know. I wish that Massachusetts had a solid conservative governor. That's not the case. Massachusetts has a left-wing governor. Okay, so if I wish to talk about her actions and her policies and priorities, it's going to be a long list. That's not the topic for today. We're not here to talk about Elizabeth Warren, not here to talk about Maura Healey. Let's go back to Michelle Wu. Mayor Michelle Wu. She is an advocate for Boston's sanctuary city status. And it seems that she is adamant. Mayor Wu is not going to change her position. She continues to defend Boston's status as a sanctuary city. And do you think she's alone? No, she's not alone. She's not alone. There are many other left-wing politicians in the city of Boston. She's not alone. Her entire council appears to be the same way. Same priorities, it seems. They are all on the same page, at least on this issue. In December 2024, the Boston City Council publicly reaffirmed its position in support of the Boston Trust Act. That's right. The Boston City Council reaffirmed its support. Okay? Support for the Boston Trust Act. The resolution passed unanimously. And this happened right after the 2024 presidential election. So you have to understand the timeline. It happened right after the 2024 presidential election, which means that the left-wing political establishment in Boston has been getting ready to resist the actions of the Trump administration. Donald J. Trump got reelected. Reelected in the sense that President Trump was the 45th president, and then he was gone for 4 years, and then he came back. So, in November 2024, Donald J. Trump, the 45th president, he got elected to be the 47th president. That's in November 2024, the presidential election. And then the following month, in December of 2024, Boston reaffirms its support for the Boston Trust Act. So it was an early sign that the city's left-wing leaders will do whatever it takes to oppose President Trump. Because President Trump had made it very clear when he was running for the 2024 presidential race, when he was running, he made it very clear that if he gets elected, then we're going to see mass deportation. And so as soon as Donald J. Trump got elected in November 2024, the left-wing politicians in Boston became very busy. They became busy trying to send a message by publicly reaffirming their support for the Boston Trust Act. So Boston was getting ready to continue to protect illegal immigrants. So if you live in Boston, my friends, I don't know where you're listening from, where you're watching, if you're watching the video version of this podcast episode, I don't know where you're watching from. You could be in any state in the United States. But if you live in Boston and you are listening to this podcast episode, I want you to ask yourself, are you okay with your tax dollars being managed by elected officials and other bureaucrats in Boston who prioritize illegal immigrants? If you are a resident of Boston, if you are a taxpayer in Boston, are you okay with left-wing politicians managing your tax dollars? The very same people who clearly support illegal immigrants, who clearly put illegal immigrants first. They disregard the needs of the American people, the citizens. They disregard the will of the American citizens. And these left-wing politicians in Boston, they instead put illegal immigrants first. And are you okay with that? Are you okay with these very same people running your city, managing your tax dollars, making decisions that affect you as a resident of Boston? Remember, last month, when the Department of Homeland Security published a list of sanctuary communities, Boston, Massachusetts was on that list. Not the only one on the list. There are many other cities, counties, and states on that list. And Boston, Massachusetts is one of them. So, enforcement operation in Boston is already underway. It's happening. The Trump administration is not going to stop. The Trump administration has very, very powerful leaders. Obviously, we have President Donald J. Trump, but he has a great team. He's got Pam Bondi, Attorney General. He's got Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security. He's got Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and now Secretary of War, because the name has been changed. The Department of Defense has been renamed, and now it's the Department of War. So Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of War. So he's got a great team. Our leader, Donald J. Trump, has a great team. And that team is not going to stop. They're going to do what is necessary to ensure public safety, whatever is necessary to protect the American people, whatever is necessary to make communities safe again. When President Trump talks about making America safe again, well, how do you make America safe again? You do that by looking at cities where there's widespread crime. You look at cities that are protecting illegal aliens, criminal aliens. You look at those cities and you do enforcement operation, immigration enforcement operation in those cities. You catch the criminals. You catch the criminal aliens. You do mass deportation. You remove the criminals from the communities. And that's how you make a community safe again. You make several communities safe again. You make communities across the country safe again. And that's how you make America safe again. And that is what President Trump and his team are doing. So this so-called Boston Trust Act, it's not going to stop the ICE operations. No, ICE is going to do what ICE is going to do. And you know, every time I say the Boston Trust Act, I just say to myself, deep in my mind, I say to myself, this is a wrong name. It's a wrong title. There's nothing, this has got nothing to do with trust. As I said earlier, it's a breach of trust. If elected officials are shielding illegal immigrants from deportation, if elected officials are prioritizing and protecting criminal aliens, then it's not about trust, it's about breach of trust. So the Boston Trust Act should be called the Breach of Trust Act. My friends, let me tell you something very, very clearly, and I want you to understand this. For those who may be wondering, hey, will the ICE operations in Massachusetts be successful? Okay, if ICE is going into Boston and trying to catch criminal aliens, are they going to succeed? Are they going to be able to do their jobs properly? Yes, I have strong confidence that ICE is going to do their work very, very successfully. The local officials in Boston, these left-wing politicians, they will not be able to stop the America First agenda. They may come up with the so-called Boston Trust Act. They may come up with ways to not cooperate with the federal agents, but you know what? It's not going to stop the federal agents from doing the work that they are supposed to do. Because the federal agents, they're trained, they're intelligent, they've got the resources, they know what to do, they're strong, they're brave, they've got a lot of courage, they've got the willingness to serve the people. And they have a commander-in-chief who is going to provide them with 100% support. And so the federal agents, their energy is high. Okay, they are determined to do what they're supposed to do, and they're going to do it. So these left-wing politicians in Boston will not be able to stop the America First agenda. And then, which city is going to be next? Oh, Chicago. Oh, Chicago is going to be next. Everyone's talking about Chicago. I've talked about Chicago on my podcast. It seems like we have been waiting for quite a while. We have been waiting, like, okay, let's wait and see what happens in Chicago. When will the National Guard troops be deployed in Chicago? When will the federal agents be going into Chicago and catching the criminal aliens and making Chicago a safe city? When is it going to happen? It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. I'm waiting for it. It's going to happen. And maybe there are few more names I need to discuss, some other cities and states, not just Boston, not just Chicago. I personally am waiting for enforcement operation, strong enforcement operation in New York City. I would love to see the National Guard troops being deployed in New York City to make New York City safe again. New York City. Everyone all over the world, you just go and ask people all over the world if they have heard of New York City, and the answer is likely to be yes, yes. New York City, known all over the world, a beautiful city, a great city. But now the city is suffering, especially over the last 4 years with, from 2021 to end of 2024. during the Biden-Harris years, New York City suffered tremendously. Things are improving, but there are still many problems in New York City. And I would love to see the Trump administration deploy the National Guard and send in other federal agents to make New York City safe again by removing criminals. Okay. We're going to have to look nationwide and identify the problematic areas run by left-wing politicians. And regarding New York, there are so many questions. What does New York City's future look like? It depends on who the mayor is going to be in the new term. Who is it going to be? We don't know. Is it going to be Eric Adams re-elected? Is it going to be Curtis Sliwa? Is it going to be Andrew Cuomo, former governor? Or is it going to be Zoran Mamdani? New York's future depends on who the mayor is going to be. And, sadly, it seems that Zoran Mamdani is leading as of now. Things can change. A lot can change. The political calculation, it's complicated. But if Zoran Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York, then the problems in New York will get worse, because you can never expect good results if you put a socialist in charge of a city. Socialist. A person who believes in socialism, a person who thinks socialism is the solution. You can never expect good results from that person. You can never expect sound decision-making from a socialist. You can never expect sound policy-making from a socialist. And in the Democrat Party, there are many socialists. Some don't openly identify as socialists, but they support socialist policies. And then there are others like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Zoran Mamdani, who openly acknowledge that they're socialists. So, my friends, what will New York City's future look like? We have to wait and see. I'm going to be talking about the mayoral race very soon. It needs to be discussed. But going back to Boston, this Boston Trust Act, it should really be called the Breach of Trust Act. My friends, let's hope that the Trump administration becomes successful in removing criminal aliens from Boston and other sanctuary cities. ICE enforcement operation, immigration enforcement operation is already underway. It's happening in Massachusetts. So what we have to do is wait for the results. And so I'm going to be checking for updates from ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. And, just wait for the news, wait for the numbers, wait for the updates. President Trump has done a great job in Washington, D.C., making D.C. a safe place. D.C. is now a crime-free zone. And hopefully, the same kind of success can be achieved in other communities, including Chicago, hopefully soon, and then right now, Boston. So, my friends, thank you so much for continuing to listen to my podcast. As I always say, if you have any thoughts you want to share with me, whether you agree with my viewpoints or you disagree, whatever the case may be, get in touch with me, share with me your thoughts and comments. you can go to my website, tossifanam.net, and you can send me a message. You can also email me directly. My email address is tossif@tossifanam.net. You can also find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also on Truth Social. So get in touch with me, share with me your thoughts, and I hope to be back again very soon, my friends, with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. Thank you.